Can you hear me? Andrew, can you hear me? No, you're silent, my friend.
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear someone now.
Yes, you can hear me too now.
Oh, well, that was a calamity start to my show. I don't know what happened. I probably will have to learn about Zoom and what the heck is going on. But there were interruptions and stops and starts and blips and blops and all sorts. But anyway, welcome to the show, Andy Devine and Anthony Badaloo.
Greetings and welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Well, it's great to have you on the show. Now, Andy, you've been on the show more recently than Anthony, and you were telling us lots of stuff about, well, all sorts really. You were talking about John Patterson's case and various other situations. But before that, you were on with Anthony, and you were talking about court order scams, etc., etc. I was hoping that type of information would bring the whole feckin' system down, to be honest, and that many people would be fighting their court orders. In the proof that you gave us that they were all fraudulent and scams. Tonight, you're going to talk about the Pyramid of Terror. Guys, tell me all about it.
Right, do you want me to do it a bit? I'll go first. And basically just to update on what you just said there, Sean, it still can happen. It's just a matter of the people becoming aware enough to actually ask those questions. So we're going to give this pyramid a triangle just to explain a bit more to what is actually they're doing with these courts, alleged courts, by basically what's actually happening with how they're tricking people and duping people into counterfeit court cases. And the last show that we did, we gave the template for people to request, what they require, which was a file view of the case man 1, 2, and 3. Which would validate and authenticate whether or not it was a legitimate and authentic court case because of what they're actually doing. So on that, the pyramid of triangle, I mean, I'll do a little bit of a talk about it.
Pyramid of terror, rather.
The pyramid of terror, yeah, the pyramid of terror, sorry, basically, yeah. Because what it is, because of what's happening, it's the size, and because they're all working together, that's what's giving them the power. Never underestimate the power of a group. So the council and the courts are working and taking control of the court, and the controller or the enforcer, which is the police, which is the head of the pyramid. Yeah. So they're all working together. They're all working together and fleecing the people, yeah, via not a court, because they are working in the shadows, they are working in the private. And they are these public servants that are in a position, and they are all breaching their rules and regulations, and they are working in a complete fraud by completely counterfeiting a court case. And I haven't personally, obviously Anthony has actually seen some genuine caseman files. Me, on my quest since I've been following this, and for the people that every person that every man or woman, should I say, that has requested their case file view, none of them have had them. So every case that I've come across so far has all been counterfeit, and none of the court cases that alleged court cases again were court cases. Just like John Patterson's was never a court case, but all intents and purposes for the people that are going to these buildings and participating in a crime, they're what they get is very real. They will have their children taken off, and they will have their houses taken off, and they will get put in prison. But ultimately, none of it was lawful, and therefore none of it could therefore be proven as authentic. And that was what was the main thing about people requesting their case file view, because it's so important, and it's a necessity.
But
because
they weren't getting.
Hello. Can you hear me?
But they weren't getting their casement files. They weren't getting their case. Yes, I can hear you, Anthony.
Yeah.
They weren't getting the casement files back, were they? So do when we've got a really bad, I suppose, corrupt system where you go to a court to try and get truth, and the court itself is going to cover up the court's own fraud. Yeah,
well, it's not the court. Remember, this is what we're trying to say. It's this pyramid of terror that's hijacked the court, They have hijacked the court and they're using the court building as a court. So all intents and purposes, because people don't know what the difference between what a real case is, what a real warrant looks like, what a real court order looks like, they can get fooled by a counterfeit.
Right. Yeah, I see that. I just think it's really incredible that we have a situation where do we go with the information we've got, because they are corrupt and the only courts that are available to us are corrupt courts. Unless we build our own courts, is it? Unless we have our own judicial system?
Well, again, this is, I mean, my journey has been to try and bring courts. So I was trying to bring the King's Bench,
Right.
which we didn't need to go any of these things. But ultimately, these courts are there. It's just that we as the people, because people created government, so it's the people that control the government. So the people, meaning the men and women, have to give them commands. So we have to hold these to account. We have to, as men and women, stand up and enforce and give the command to these people to operate correctly. And the way they hide that is because just the way they try to capture us by creating a legal embodiment, to capture us by the person. So the person is a corporation and they act as corporations because they stand there with their actor's name, which is a corporation, which is a legal fiction. So this is how they trick us. Now that I'll go into a bit of that in a bit later on to explain exactly the difference between what a man is and what a person is, and why only the man can stand and have a voice, because only a man can give a command, because he's the living man. The person is a dead entity, that's why they can ignore it, and vice versa. That when you go to the actor can ignore it because this is the sickness of these people. They believe they've got immunity. They believe they've got actor's immunity. And because they're all working together, it's breaking their confidence. We have to break their confidence. Once we break their confidence, and this is what it takes, this is why Anthony was saying, if we get 1,000 people doing this, this is what's going to break their confidence, because now they know we can see them. Now we know what they're doing. Now we know that they're working completely in counterfeit, and they are putting this, and the only thing that they've got is the fear. The only thing they've got over us is the fear. And because we had that doubt, because we didn't know what a real one looks like, because we never made them, as in the maximum law states, he who makes the claim carries the burden of proof. So the only reason they can continue with it is because we never made them. We never forced them to produce the material evidence to substantiate their claim that this is an authentic case, that the procedures had not been broken, that the information was laid at the court for the court to have issued the proceedings, because only the court can issue the proceedings. And if the court has not issued the proceedings, then those proceedings are not inside the case, and therefore there is no case to answer to. However, people are going in there, they have lawyers. The lawyers are being sent the proceedings by the CPS, not from the court, and the CPS is working with that little scam because they're working in the private. None of this money that's being made off this is going into the public purse. None of the court filing fees or any of the court costs are going into the public purse. They're going into their private. It's the double book system. Yeah. It's exactly what's happening, and all this is going into their own coffers.
And it's rotten to the core. It's rotten to the core, Andrew, isn't it? It's corporate entities who know they are corporate entities, tricking and fooling other corporate entities without the other party knowing that they are actually corporate entities. I know that sounded weird, but that is basically what it is. It's like a complete scam con from the beginning, because they're acting, as you say, like they're treating people like man and woman, but in fact they are treating them as a corporate entity to rape, pillage, and scam as much as possible.
They're treating you as a dead entity, yeah, with no voice. Yeah. They're treating you as the person. That's why they're summoning you to court, because you summons the dead. They're summoning the dead entity to the court. But the thing is, no, they're not, because they're not even summoning the dead entity. They're not summoning anything to the court. What they're doing is they're operating in fraud, and they're bringing you to a building that all intents and purposes could work as a court, but only if the procedures were correct, and they're not. So it isn't a court. but all the people in there are acting like they are in a court, and they're doing exactly what would work as in a court, properly in a court, but it hasn't. It's not a court. It's off the books. It's off the record.
How do we expose these courts for being exactly how you describe them?
Can I jump in on that bit, Sean?
Yep.
You can, of course, Anthony.
I think what Andrew is saying, you know, it's a lot of sense. But if I just wind back a little bit to the last time we were on your show, Sean.
Okay.
We set a little target just out of the blue, that if we could use the leverage of your show to get 100 people to download 1,000 people to download the document.
I wish I was mainstream media for that to happen.
No. You listen to me here. It happened because we said if we could get 1,000 people to download it with the leverage of your show, it could shake the system. It would make a big shake. Within 10 days of the announcement, we had Priti Patel come out and said they lost nearly 500,000 records. Yeah.
Yes, true.
I'm sure it's not coincidence. If you remember, that podcast on your show went neck and neck with the BBC on the Mixcloud charts. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Now I will give you an update on this, and I have to tell you, we can be pessimistic sometimes, but we have achieved the 1,000 downloads of the document. Yeah.
Okay.
And that is without any marketing whatsoever.
Fantastic. Well done, you guys.
Because the link where we put it on the podcast, I think it lasts a while and then it disappears. So we haven't done any marketing. I haven't sent it to my email list. I've just been busy. So just randomly here and there, people picking it up. It's gone on, I think, 1,100 now or something.
Brilliant.
But I will tell you something else. Each person will have about 6 cases.
Okay. Yeah.
Because nobody has one case. And if we're to take a reasonable assumption that a lot of people would have emailed it to others and shared it around, I reckon inquiries have been made on at least 10,000 cases.
Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
great.
From the last time. So we could have followed up a bit. We could have done a lot better and all that. But the thing is, we did plant a seed and it is growing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we set 1,000 target and it's past it. So we've got to say thanks to Out of the Bag Rebellion Hour. Yeah. And we're gonna patch it up. We're gonna email it out and all that, and it will rock it. But the thing is, we are seeing. We are seeing them go completely haywire. I think, Andy, you had what I'm gonna do. You know, I'm going to use one particular example and outline the pyramid of terror to show how the council, the police, and the court staff are acting in as a gang, a pyramid triad kind of setup where the public, once you get ensnared in it, you can't go anywhere.
Right.
We're going to have to be a little bit better on our marketing. So if we come to this guy, his name is Tariq Zahid. Yeah. He's a great freedom fighter. He's at all the demonstrations. The document we revealed on your podcast last time, he actually went and hand delivered it to Parliament.
Really? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to respect a guy like that.
Sure.
And he also delivered the David Barron Ward's famous affidavit. Now, this guy is a little bit of a rebel, I would say, but he doesn't harm anybody. And he's got a heart of a lion, you know. So he had a restaurant somewhere across the river in London, south of the river, called Organicos Boutique. And he was doing well. And he's a bit of an artist, so his restaurant was a little bit of an art gallery at the same time.
So it's a really upmarket vegan restaurant with an art gallery.
It's a hip and trendy thing, and he had a big following on Instagram. Now, here comes the problem. his landlord was a gentleman called Andrew Lamont. You know,
Okay.
I've put a little sketch on the chat here, so if
Yeah,
you
I
want to
see
follow, yeah.
I'm following
So,
it. Yeah.
yeah, so what it is now, Andrew Lamont is the landlord, and for some reason, he wants his property back, which is perfectly fine, you know, but you got to go through a process, yeah? What did Andrew Lamont do? He sent in an illegal Marstons Bailiff to throw this guy out. So he puts up a resistance. Where is your warrant? Blah, blah, blah. Police comes along, drags him out, lock him up. So fine, they lock him up. I presume there was no charge. So, because if they say he's obstructing a bailiff, it's not a bailiff. The guy doesn't have a warrant. He's not a bailiff. The warrant is what makes him a bailiff. So they lock him up. After they lock him up, he's in the cell. No charge as far as we know. 10 officers came in the cell. 10. And beat the shit out of him in the cell.
Right.
Yeah, because he asked for the warrant.
Okay.
Now, this Lamont, Andrew Lamont, was a Tory councillor for the Kensington and Chelsea borough.
Yes.
So when we started to assist him and all that, we did a little Googling. It turns out the guy is on the sex offenders register.
So Andrew Lamont, the councillor from Chelsea, is a convicted paedophile?
Yeah, but I think he's the ex-councillor.
Right.
But he was convicted while he was a councillor. Now, not only have we discovered this, first of all, he wasn't in jail. That's a big thing. So, you know, apparently his wife shopped him, yeah? How bad is that?
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
How long did the wife know about it? So,
well,
anyway,
I don't know the story myself, Anthony, but yeah, I'm going to have to read up on it and find out.
Yeah. Andrew Lamont. Well, what we're discovering with my own case as well, Sean, 2 of the child protection officers in my case, because you can't throw babies on the street. My little baby, 3-year-old, he had a heart condition. He was thrown on the street 3 times.
Wow.
And I had some tenants that the same thing happened to them. So the child protection officers who were supposed to protect the children, we found out they were both jailed for child sexual abuse.
Wow.
So we're finding with a few other people's cases that the people using fake warrant, kind of the fake warrant industry, are very frequently coming up as sex offenders at the same time, child sex offenders. So I've asked a few people to do a little research in the correlation between the fake court orders and child sexual abuse, because you can take children with a fake court order. It happens all the time. And you can take money, you can take property. Maybe there's a psychological element where the power, we can do what we like. I don't know, but there's something worth a bit of academic study and research, but there is a big correlation, unfortunately. So we also found out that this guy, he has 65 properties. So what we want to know, how many of these properties were stolen with fake court orders?
Exactly right. So he might be sitting there as a councillor on loads and loads of properties that went through the system, and he was a vulture and got the properties that way.
Because we're finding out that the councils are repossessing more properties than the biggest 10 banks and building societies added together.
Right. Okay.
And they're not a lender. So it's fake liability orders. Yeah, like the one we did on your show last time. The death of council tax. Those same things of bankrupting people and all that.
Incredible.
So this councillor is got to be investigated. So I'll just run quickly through what happened. Now, the police kept coming to Tariq's house for, you know, saying they have warrants and stuff. They can't produce the warrant. Tariq is a very proactive person. He's asking them in writing, where is the warrant? Where is the, they can't produce a single item.
Right.
Now, he had a little dodgy, what do you call it? Harassment case against him with some girl.
Okay. Okay. So he had something put against him, right?
Yeah. So in that case, the police filed a statement in court that he had 29 previous convictions.
Okay. And had he 29 previous convictions?
Well, he sent off to the CPS. Can I have a copy of each and every layer of information for these 29 convictions? So he hadn't had an answer. So in the meantime, the police keep coming to his house, climbing on his roof, So he writes to the police, he calls 101, who are these people? They said, we have no record of these visits.
Oh.
The next day, they dropped a paper through his door. Don't worry, you're not wanted. Okay, in writing.
Okay.
Then the next time,
that's very weird. I mean, why did that happen at all?
why are you telling me I'm not wanted? Anyway, a few days later, they came, wrestled him to the ground outside his house, banged him up, not in the police cell, in jail. Yeah,
So he was not wanted and he ended up in jail. Right. Okay.
locked him straight to jail. No trial, no warrant, no conviction, no court order. He's in jail for 11 days.
Wow.
This is the country we're living in. Never mind Afghanistan. So when they let him out, he went straight to the Crown Court and filed an appeal. He didn't want to appeal because you can't appeal a case you never see.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, he did an appeal out of desperation, and he subpoenaed the police and the court staff, the probation, everybody saying they have court order. He subpoenaed, you know, he called them as witnesses. So somehow he got a lawyer called David Castle involved in the case. Apparently he's a very good one and all that.
Okay.
So then he had a call from David Castle. He said there was a hearing for the 16th of August. He had a call from David Castle. He said, oh, I just happened to be walking by in the court, in the Crown Court on the 3rd of August, and your name is on the board as having a trial. So he said, you don't need to come, I will deal with it. So he went to deal with it. Apparently there was nothing much. So the 16th came, 16th of August, that's Monday gone. He had a trial for supposedly against these people who have all these court orders. So the court staff and the judge and all that said, well, first of all, none of the people who were supposed to turn up, none of them turned up. So you should automatically get a judgment against them.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, they said, oh, they got to reschedule the trial because there is nothing on the court's computer. So there's no computer record. So
that means it was going to be off record anyway, wasn't it?
Well, that means the appeal that he filed is they never put it in the system because, you know, the problem is there is no corresponding case in the magistrate court to connect to the appeal.
Okay, yeah, because you're just appealing against a court order. You're not appealing.
You're supposed to be appealing against the magistrate's case.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, but since the magistrate's case is a
fraud,
it's fresh year. Yeah, they were stuck. So there's nothing in the computer system. So they fooled him that they took his appeal.
Why? Because they just wanted to.
No, because they're in an impossible position. Right. Because, you know, on the computer, everything links up through the case numbers. But if the first case number was fresh year,
Yes.
that gap is there.
It's not linked to anything.
Right. So they come in the Crown Court though, and they got no case management record in the computer. So that was adjourned. I don't know what's going to happen. But then he has this probation, allegedly for another court order. He's been asking the probation for a year. Where is the court order that I'm doing these hours on? Because this is the problem. The probation is a private company these days.
Right.
Yeah, they're called Community Relations Council. And they have another MTC. They have all sorts of names. You trace them back to America, basically. So what it is, Sean, these private companies jump into the system. So they say they're looking after dangerous criminals. They're running a probation service. And they are billing the taxpayer, the public purse, with billions. Yeah? And their ticket to the money is the court order. I've been through probation, and I was telling people to ask for the court order. Not a single person could get a court order sealed by the court, a proper court order, and signed. So this is a big scandal. All the people involved, the legal aid lawyers are collecting legal aid on these court orders, and they're not court orders. They're not court cases at all, and they all know it.
Yeah, they all know what they're doing. They all know the scam. They're all part of it, and they're making sure the whole circle keeps going again and again, aren't they?
So I'm just going to finish off.
Yeah.
That the bottom line is you have the police, the local authority, and the court. That triad, that three legs on the stool, that what we're calling a pyramid of terror, are they responsible for the enforcement of the law and these things. So if they all decide to act as an organized gang using false court order, there is nowhere to go. Because if you go to the council, you go to the police, the first thing they go, oh, we cannot interfere in court matters. Yeah, that's what the police will tell you.
Why? Is it like a domestic?
Well, it makes a lot of sense, because if something is in court, you don't want the police to be disturb. People could abuse it. But this is the problem. The police will never investigate under any circumstances if it's a counterfeit court order. Just like how you would have counterfeit cigarettes or counterfeit money. You know, you have this.
And why won't they investigate it? Because
they're in a pyramid of terror. They're organized crime.
They're part of it, yeah.
Court order. It cannot happen without each party. I'm helping with an illegal eviction with a lady called Margaret Bass. She's made a complaint now with the Northampton Council for 3 years. People are illegally evicting me. I want you to investigate. That is a statutory duty they have. 3 years they've done nothing till we escalated a bit. Then they send her somebody housing options or something. If you're homeless, we can help you. Well, we don't want you to be homeless. We want you to prosecute the people who are trying to make me homeless.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, we took it to all the authorities we can, and the information commissioner says it's a matter for the police. So they put it in writing. So we took that to the police. So now the police can't get out of it.
Right.
So the police put a letter that it's for the council to investigate this.
So the council should be investigating themselves, just like the Garda.
Well, this is the problem, and what we find behind it, is that the the police, the court, and the local authority are heavily under the influence of a company known as Capita.
As what? Sorry?
Capita.
Oh, Capita. Yes.
Yeah, there's a video on the internet called Capita Killers. Anybody get the chance to watch that?
Okay.
So, but they got a power of attorney with everybody, so their name never appears on any paperwork.
Mhm.
So imagine one company is controlling all three.
Yeah, yeah. So there is the master pulling the strings.
That dark master on, you know, the shadow.
Mm.
So that's basically the nub of what we're targeting today. We're going to do a press release and all that. Sean, we're going to put your show in it. It's going to every MP in the country. A link to the podcast and a YouTube and whatever. And we're going to attach, last time we attached that document, the link, that was for civil cases. People have used it in the criminal case and it still has a powerful effect, but there's a specific one for criminal magistrate court. And so we're going to put that.
Okay, so that'll mean that there's a civil template and a criminal template.
Yes, yes. So we got, so that's the you know, the public has to wake up, and I'm very delighted that we've had 1,000 people download this document. I'm sure these people are doing a lot of other, but people are in shock, Sean, when it come to realize that it's all fake.
Yeah.
It doesn't see it. It's like somebody telling you your mother has been abusing you. You can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't sink in. So it's a big. It's a big.
No, it's massive when they realize this scam that's been going on for the last couple of years. When, you know, a few kids might have got flu, and it's just ridiculous what's going on, and we're having the piss taken out of us. The lies are unbelievable. If they've lied to us in the courts and the systems and the pyramid of terror, as you say, the police, the council, and the courts, surely they've lied to us in our education system, in our religious indoctrination, and in our cultures.
They've broken the trust. I mean, Andy, you had a case you were helping somebody with.
Yep.
Andrew, yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us about it. It was almost a confession that they don't have.
You're talking about Karen, yeah?
Yeah.
So yeah, what's happened with Karen is beyond belief. But for the last 14 years that she's got back, she's had 30 years of this, but the last 14 years, she's got the case numbers for that. And I think there's, well, some of the case numbers for that. And she's got 10 of them. And again, we sent in the requirement for the case management 1, 2, and 3 to the court manager. Now, at the same day, she was actually going into the court, and she requested it also in the court. And basically the judge turned around to her and says, it's under the court manager's discretion. So this was now 7 days later, and we actually got a response from her, because we'd also sent a letter also to the judge. And it just so happens I think it was about 3 hours or 4 hours difference from when the judge got her letter, that the court now responded with a response, basically stating that some of the case numbers were nothing. Some of the case numbers were something else, which was nothing to do with the fact that it's a case. They're saying it was an adoption. So basically, they've stated open, plain and simply that no, they haven't got any of the cases. And they gave a list of different places where to try and take you off down a garden path that you're never going to find an answer to. Saying that there's new courts, this is a family court, this is a different thing, it's a different process. They don't have their records on there, which is actually...
If I remember correctly, they said the family court is not a civil court.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
And then
so they've actually been caught with their pants down, haven't they, really?
Hook line, they're relying that you don't know, or you're going to go to the CAB to get advice and they will just pull the wool, or you're going to get one of these duty solicitors. They should be called dirty solicitors, you know? They never check if the case is valid.
Well, the solicitors are in on it as well, don't forget. The other thing is,
it can't work without the solicitor, all of them being roped in. So, you know, your rebellion hour, Sean, for what us to be doing and talking about what we're talking about, this is the ultimate rebel.
Absolutely.
Because all the corruption, Sean, all your listeners who are probably strong freedom fighters and stuff,
So I hope so.
All the badness, yeah, and the madness, they only get away with it on the false claim to the court's authority.
Right.
And if a lot of energy can be saved, you know, if people just interrogate the claim against them. I read something in the papers, on the mainstream papers, I think it's a Guardian or one of them. 100% of all the COVID fines that were challenged were dropped.
Mhm.
100%.
So that means
Yeah.
the people are paying out of fear and ignorance, but the ones who take the trouble to just one step, is this a legitimate fine? How come nobody signed this paper? How come it's not sealed? Which court issued this fine? I never had a trial. They just drop it and run.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one way to cure the COVID fine.
Just
You
to add to, I mean, because of that definition there, what has just been given out, the reason that anything can be done, the reason why a lie can be told, is because the people accept it, pure and simple. And because the people are scared, because of what's been done to us through the indoctrination, because of whatever else we've been done, just do as you're told, you know, all the programming that we've received through the television and what we're seeing around, because of the rest of the people are doing exactly the same. And that herd mentality of just putting up with it and shutting up, doing what you're told. That plus the fluoride, plus you can give it a list of all the different things that's made us that weaker person, make us that person that wouldn't, make us that man that wouldn't speak up for himself and demand that they produce the material evidence. That is why they're getting away with what they're getting away with.
I think it's worse than that, Andrew. I think that it is global mass hypnosis.
100%.
And I do think,
100%.
yeah, and
100%.
I think that good, loving, kind people who love their families and love their planet, love the land that they live on, I think they just don't know that they're hypnotized, and they're going along as drones, as hypnotized, brainwashed drones, doing the bidding of these hypnotists. I suppose the best way of putting it.
They wouldn't know. How would someone that's deceived know that they're deceived? It's by doing what we're doing now, by exposing how you've been deceived, so that now you know. Because once you've seen, you can't unsee. You need to know how that they're deceiving you, so that you can stop yourself being deceived. This is the main thing I'll say is, if somebody came to you with a counterfeit £20 note, because you are aware, because you are conscious of what a real £20 note looks like, you are conscious that that's counterfeit. Because you're not conscious of how the court systems work, because you're not conscious how what a real court document should look like, you can be deceived. And that's
how can one question something that hasn't been truly explained to us?
One has to verify it. We stay as that child. We're still that child. Why? Prove it. Why? Prove it. You have to prove. You have to stay the asking.
Yeah, but what it is as well, Sean, I think they, because they're stealing so much money with the fake court orders, they can buy everything. Imagine, I believe personally, because I've never seen the exception, that every single solicitor has been bought to cover up the fraudulent claim. If you see the extent they do, when I was locked up and they said, you want a free and independent solicitor, I said to the guy, how can he be independent if you're choosing him? Yeah,
he's on your list. Yeah, he's on your list.
Yeah. So I didn't take the solicitor. I got the interview I did is called Hell in the Cell UK. That's on YouTube somewhere. But so I did it without a solicitor, because I want a certain question I want to ask that I know no solicitor will ask. I want to ask him, where is the court order? And he said, here is the court order. I put on the table. He said, signed by a judge. So I peeped over. I said, where is the sign? He said, when I say sign, I don't mean sign.
Oh.
That's what the police officer said to me, Ben Kovler.
He's a clever soul, isn't he?
I know, but you know, he's been put under pressure. These guys are victims as well. They've been leaned on by the dark mafia.
I think you're being too nice.
No, I am too nice because you know something, Sean. I love the police because, to be honest with you, I had a few dealings with the police in all my life, and it's always been fantastic. It's just nice, not particularly fantastic, but you know, pleasant, polite, and courteous.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
The only time I had a problem is when my property has been stolen, or it involves a bailiff. So there is there is something going on. I believe they're told specifically. I remember once we had a police officer with a guy called Ewan Peters. It's a case that we actually won in the end. But I had to fight so hard because he was being bankrupted by the HMRC.
Okay.
And we got them. We had the HMRC people coming to the guy's house, creeping before daylight to drop the papers in the letterbox because they don't want to use the Royal Mail. Because using the Royal Mail is a malicious communications act to serve fraudulent papers. And because we were investigating.
Is that why most papers are by hand? Because they are fraudulent.
Yeah, because you have another layer of crime called the malicious communications. If you use the Royal Mail, that's a big problem.
Title 18 1001, which is fictitious communications. You've also got Title 18 1342, which is fictitious name and address.
I know you're on the radio, but anything dodgy I get that got no signature and all that bullshit, I have a pack of like leaflets here that I just stick on the envelope. It says mail fraud.
Back. Right.
And I just whiz it back in the post because the postal unit, the postal people, the postmaster general, Andy knows this better than me, is supposed to do something about it. You're serving fraudulent document using the postal postal service, the whole authority on their own.
The postal service is massive, and it's once it was started to be controlled by the banking cartels and the banks, etc., then it totally changed. But it was the best and most wonderful global service that we've ever stitched together, I think, and was amazing.
Well, the postal system, once it came out of the Queen's hands, because she lost that position in November the 2nd, 1999. So the postal, it controls all money, it controls all the military, and basically what the post office did to bring its own rules and regulations in was, again, it's in the system. So if you look at it, how they used to do it in the olden days before, when they used to travel with money, where it first would have started to come from. So if somebody wanted to go from one place to another place with, let's say, a ton of gold, and it was very dangerous. So what they used to do was they used to write an encrypted note out for them, so that when they got to their destination, they could give it to a certain person and they would give them that gold. So this is where it started to come in, And then when the postal started, then they said with 2p stamp, you can post a letter anywhere in the world. That mail then was protected. It was protected in its travel from A to B. So the military, any postal damage to it was now protected by the military. So then they created their rules and regulations, obviously, because you can't use fraud, like you were saying. So if I was to send a fraudulent document through the mail, then I've used their service to operate in fraud, and they have a law that governs that. So they've got their own. The federal postal system's got their own laws and regulations.
Okay, so then what about the? Let's take it onto a lower, not big cases, etc. Just how they genuinely daily hit the general public. So I suppose traffic offences or no harm, no injury, no loss, but because they didn't adhere to maybe a guard, a block, or didn't pull over when they should have done or something, they end up with an €80 or £80 spot fine and 2 points on their license. Is the whole of that fraudulent?
Right. I'll tell you
Or is
what.
that a crime?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'm going to read you one page of this document that I've got, which explains a lot. It's from America, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be the same across the globe. So I'm just going to read you this this document. Office of the person. The office of the state office known as person. This is the singular most important lesson you must learn. If you spend an hour to learn this material, you will be rewarded with rewarded for the rest of your life, sorry. The word person is a legal terminology. It's perceived as the general word, which normally includes in its scope a variety of entities other than human being. See USC 1 section 1 of the codes. Yeah, Church of Scientology versus US Department of Justice. One of the very first of your state statutes will have a section listed entitled Definitions. Carefully study this section of the statutes. You will find a portion that reads similar to this excerpt. In the construction, these statutes and each and every word, phrase, or part hereof, where the context will permit, 1, the singular includes the plural and vice versa. Gender-specific languages includes other gender and neutral. The word person includes individual, children, firms, associations, joint adventures, partnerships, estates, trusts, business trusts, syndicates, fiduciaries, corporations, and all other groups or combinations. That's the definition of the word person. Now remember, all your acts and statutes apply only to the person. So I'll continue. Note, however, the definition statute does not list man or woman. Therefore, they are excluded from all the statutes. Under the rule of construction, expresso unius est exclusio ulterius, where a statute or a constitution emulates the thing on which it is to operate or forbid certain things, it is ordinarily to be construed as excluding from its operation all those not expressly mentioned. Generally, words in a statute should be given their plain and ordinary meaning. When a statute does not specifically define words, such words should be construed in their common or ordinary sense, to the effect that the rules used in the construing statutes are also applicable in the construction of the Constitution. It is fundamental rule of statutory construction that words of common usage, when used in a statute, should be construed in their plain and ordinary sense. If you carefully read the statute.
Why don't you just post the document, Andrew, on the link?
Well, let me just finish because I'm only going to read this last little bit.
Sure.
Right? So if you carefully read the statute laws, where you just said like you got pulled up in a car, yeah, or whatever, he was driving a car. Now, if he was driving a car, that means he was driving in commerce, and therefore he would need a driving license. If he wasn't driving the car and he was just traveling his property, yeah, which is where you don't need it, this is where you're in the law. This is legal. This is legal because the car's registered. Therefore, you have to abide by the rules and regulations that you've just registered to that corporation, which is the DLV. Yeah? So if you carefully read the statute laws enacted by your state legislation, you will also notice that they are all written with phrases similar to these 5 examples. 1, a person commits the offence of failure to carry a license if the person. Yeah. 2, a person commits the offence of failure to register a vehicle if the person. A person commits the offence of driving uninsured if the person. 4, a person commits the offence if fishing if the person. 5, a person commits the offence of breathing if the person. So remember what it's saying is on all this, it's all down to person. Now you have to get that definition of person, because remember, the person is not the man. The person is what was created to us when we was born by that creation of the birth certificate, which was the legal fiction, the legal embodiment, the person. That is where people's mindsets have to understand, because once you step out of that and stand as a living man, You are only bound under the law, which is God's law, which is create no harm, loss, or injury. Yeah. And if there is no victim, there is no crime. So that is the only law that applies to a man. The person, yeah, has to have the consent. Yeah.
I think what Sean was asking there was these smaller scale fines and stuff. Are they also fraud? And the answer is, Sean, yes, they are fraud. I have one of my own, which is I asked the CPS if I was prosecuted, and they come and say they can't find any such prosecution. Only to be, after some time, they say a bailiff comes, say they have a warrant. So I done a video, I called the bailiff, I said, give me the warrant, I give you the money. It's very simple. They said, we can't give you the warrant, but we have it, but we can't give you. Oh. All of it is fake, because what they do, they like the COVID fine, they're supposed to be a prosecution. You can't have a fine without a trial. You understand? But they don't have any prosecution. They send you a piece of paper. Nobody signed it. It comes from a company called APCO, which is owned by 6 coppers or something. I think they shut it down now. I have another, but it's the same bullshit.
Yeah, they'll morph.
When you question them, you know, you're 90% there likely to, you know, have them drop it, but they're very protective of it. You know, it's education time now, Sean. Everybody's coming out with a big results, you know?
Yes.
But my favorite hobby is that if I meet somebody that just graduated with a PhD, yeah? So they come through a fabulous education systems. The parents spend millions. They have student debts bigger than your house. And they have a big certificate of qualification. They're going to get respect for the rest of their life. Dr. So-and-so, yeah?
Yeah.
I can destroy their career with 2 questions. Yeah, that they don't know the answer to.
Yeah, I wish I knew these questions when I was going to all those posh private parties when I was younger. Go on.
Yeah. What is money? I mean, the money we're using every day. And what is man? Those 2 questions, they can come out with a glory and pride and student debt. And you don't know these 2 things. And these are the only 2 things you probably need to know to function as a fully, you know, functional man or woman in the world. So they're going to go and work for a corporation. They won't even realize what is happening. And they're going to save up for their pension, this fiat money. I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube videos on cryptocurrency and stuff. And all the kids, 24-year-old, they all know what fiat money means. But the regular people, public, have no idea.
Do they not? Is it not filtering down now that more and more people know about it?
I think it's filtering down. It's filtering down. I had some figures I heard anyway from Pompliano or one of those people that 2% of the people now know what fiat money is, as opposed to 0% a few years ago. So, I mean, the internet is, and YouTube and all that is, as we're talking now, Andrew just gave this talk about the person, and it comes back to the birth certificate. I'm aware of a seminar going. I was going to go there, and because I had to do Sean Maguire, I didn't go. But there's a seminar running right now about that somewhere. So people are doing these seminars, and I'm an accountant for 35 years, and I didn't know what fiat money was until my house was repossessed, and I decided to try and fight back. I didn't know what a promissory note was, you know, but I've come along. I've paid the FCA with my own promissory note. They never chased me again. I paid the Willesden Magistrates Court with my own promissory note. I got the video online somewhere. They said, yeah, we receive your check and the warrant is canceled. Now, why don't more people do it? You know, I've done over 100,000 of promissory note and nobody's come back and chased me. Some have
Okay.
actually,
So has, oh, I was going to say, has every single one of those promissory
No,
notes
no.
been accepted?
but
No.
this is the problem. I was talking to Peter of England, who
Yes.
he
was
actually
on
came
the-
to see me. He said, I heard about you. My wife keep telling me, go and see this guy because he's doing all these things. So he came to see me, he spent a couple of days with me. And he said, what the F are you doing? How come, things are working? So I showed him what I'm doing. All I said is, you don't just send them the check.
No.
You soften them up first. You make them a conditional offer. You ask them to give you the ledger, ask them to prove the debt. And you do it in increments. And then you do a DSAR. And if they don't go away by then you hit them with a promissory note.
Okay, what was that before the promissory note? A DSAR, did you say?
A data subject access request.
Oh, thank you very much. I did not know what that was.
Yeah, so somebody said I owe them money or court fine, or I write them, I said, oh, I want to pay your debt. Can you give me a copy of the court order? See, then I go, oh, the document you gave me is not sealed by the court. Can you confirm if it's a legitimate order, yes or no? And you just step it, and before you know it, a year is gone.
Yeah.
And then you afterward, step it up, you make a conditional offer. Then you can bring the conditional offer up to stage 3, where you give them a notice of default, which means you can now use this to do a commercial lien.
Right. On individual people responsible.
Yeah,
Is
the
that
man
how-
or woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're setting yourself up. I've done a lot for me and some clients, and I got them on the 3-letter notice of default stage. And now I've just discovered someone has launched a cryptocurrency. I think there is already one called Eileen, but I think there's another one. What's it called? I will tell the world. UCT. Yeah.
Okay.
A cryptocurrency where you can, in principle, I haven't tested it, but you can exchange your commercial liens for cryptocurrency and transfer the cryptocurrency to real money. So all the time,
even if the lien hasn't been paid specifically by the direct.
only if the
payee.
lien hasn't been paid, because what you're doing,
Yeah.
you are securitizing the value of the lien.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what they've been doing with everything. They've securitized pretty much everything.
Right. But now the blockchain technology allows us.
Yeah. Can you explain securitization to people that may not know what that is?
Securing the lien, yeah, is if we secure it, when your autograph, your signature is the security, your signature, your pen. When you sign a promissory note, that is it. But if you're doing a lien, yeah, in the lien, you're getting them, you make them an offer for, if they fail to do it, they stand as surety. So in the lien, you've built in the fact that they are the surety of that lien. So that means that lien is now valid. That is now the real money. Then you publicize it. So it's now become a fact that it's been publicized and noticed. Then if the banks were honourable, which we know damn well they're not, you should take that to the bank and they would convert that straight into the currency, into the pieces of paper that people believe is money, because the real money is the lien. Same with a mortgage, same with a loan. When you go to get a loan,
I think a more simplistic answer, Andy, would be like, say, with your regular mortgage, security is a fancy word to say they've sold it to another company.
Yeah.
Which means they've been paid off.
Yes, exactly.
So another company can ask you for money, maybe they can show a contract, but this old company who's been paid off, when they ask you for more money and didn't tell you it was sold off, it's straight fraud. I think usury is the proper word for that.
Usury, that's what fiat currency is. It's laced with usury. I mean, I'll tell you where I am with the situation at the moment is that our bank for our mortgage basically sold our mortgage to another bank. That bank went and sold it to another bank, and that bank went and sold it to a vulture fund. So we are now in the process. Our whole mortgage is now paid off, and we are now in the process of requesting our funds back from all of the vultures and all of the banks that have been involved. And I think we'll get every single penny of our mortgage back because it is a fraud.
I mean,
it is a fraud, and
yeah.
until we deal with the court order scam, Sean, yeah,
Yeah.
because what it is, I don't want to be negative or pessimistic, but
No.
just speaking practically,
Mhm.
you will never get a court order ordering them to settle with you. But
Okay.
they can walk in the fake court tomorrow and get a bullshit order.
To take your property.
Yeah. And that's why we have a court order scam. The court is the turnstile. It is the transformer way of power where it's giving them false credibility because
It's a gatekeeper, isn't it? They're gatekeepers. They're allowing them elites through, and they're allowing the banks through, but they're not allowing the I suppose the lied to individual.
Just imagine. Let's get a little dirty here.
Okay.
They come and take your child into the sex trafficking industry.
Right, that is dirty. Okay.
And they don't look like a robber or a pedophile because they say we got a court order. Do you see?
And are they doing that, Anthony? I mean, yes, I've heard it from so many different sources, but are they actually, like here in Ireland and in England, are the social services taking children on behalf of the system, and do they end up, or some of them end up, in the sex industry?
Well, let's say a child is taken from their home. Yeah. Let's say it's a genuine situation. There's some crazy bad parent, and there are some bloody rubbish parents out there.
Yes.
And then that child now goes into the hands of a social worker and the care system. They have to live in a home. That home has a supervisor. Now, I was a foster carer for a while. I had some exposure to the system a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was doing charity work with, underperforming young people. I even won an award from the glorious mayor for my work. But the thing is, it goes into a home. That home is run by a person who hires a person that may be owned by one of these people. All the pedosexual crowd apply for jobs and work and come in that area because it's a hunting ground. This is where the vulnerable kids are. These kids get mixed up in drugs. They get mixed up in abuse, moving from place to place, losing their emotional links because there might be bad parents, but their friends were not necessarily bad. Their family were not necessarily. They had a network, So there was recently a case in London Borough of, I think it's South London Borough, about 2 years ago, the case came out. All the kids who were in the care home, all people, MPs and powerful people were coming there to abuse children. Yeah. There was an order that they were all be compensated, even if you were not abused, because you were exposed to the risk. So it is a risk. There was a thing that the underground floor in the Lambeth Town Hall was a child abuse, sexual abuse venue where powerful politicians and police and so on used to come to abuse children. This is under the town hall. So the thing is, though that's a slightly different area to where I'm specializing, I'm just focusing on the court process. If you got a legitimate claim and case to take this child from the family, why don't you do a proper court claim? Yeah. Why do you have to make up a fake one?
Exactly.
I believe you make up a fake one because you don't have the necessary material to do a valid claim, or your intention is not to help this child and put them into a system. You're going to do something very dark, very bad with this child.
Right.
And all I can say of the cases I've investigated, unfortunately, I haven't seen a legitimate one.
Right.
You know, where the claim was legitimate. So I'm not saying the parents were not bad and evil. I don't know. But I'm only looking at the process. Was there a claim? Was there a sworn affidavit or a statement of truth? Was it filed? Was it sealed by the court? Was it served on the parties? Is the computer records there to reflect in the case management? Was there a notice of issue that this case has been issued by the court? If all those things are not there, you got a false case.
Yeah.
And that means there is something untoward that is going to happen to your child.
Yeah.
You know, Sean, I've seen one claim from a solicitor who was acting as a so-called deputy for a child. And this is about maybe 10-year-old case.
Right.
Do you know how much they claim from the legal aid for one day's work?
Go on. Go on.
£60,000.
Yeah.
Because nobody is looking.
It's a massive money go round. When you were talking about, you know, eking out your own case itself,
Yeah.
and kicking the can down the road, if you like, and a year goes by quite quickly, is that not still making those feckers loads of money?
Everything is going on. You know, what is it? Somebody told me about criminals or bad people. When someone got power and money and so much, I want to say value, but I don't want to say value, but you know what I mean? So much from a certain habit or practice.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to give it up voluntarily. Yeah.
Okay.
Now you have, as a result of what we did on your show, an estimated 10,000 inquiries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people will follow up to the nth degree. Some people will drop short. Yeah.
Of course, yes.
But
and many people who probably would have liked to have done it haven't done it. Maybe they listen to this and
well,
then go for it.
We had a case of a guy called George Carter. We call him the case London George. He went to jail for signing his wife's name.
Oh.
Okay. 18 years ago. Mm-hmm. And he's such a fighter, this guy. He's got the biggest heart, and he's been fighting 18 years. Do you know how many lawyers he hired?
I wouldn't have a clue. Lots.
40.
40, Jesus. Right.
Including the great Imran Khan, who is the lawyer of Stephen Lawrence.
Yes. Yeah.
And not one of those lawyers investigated if the claim was valid or not. Because they said he signed his wife's name and his wife never made a complaint. So how can you have a prosecution where the victim never made a complaint?
Yeah, so surely that's the very first thing we should ask any
Well,
lawyer,
let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened, Sean.
Okay.
He sent off this document and asked the High Court, can I have a copy of any sealed order on the file, please? Because he taking it to the Court of Appeal, sitting there. And they bullshitted 2 or 3 times. And then afterward, they start to talk sensible. What's your date of birth? Blah, blah, blah. 7 days, including the weekend, we had a reply. We don't have any sealed orders on the file.
Wow.
And 40 lawyers.
That's incredible.
18 years. You understand me? So people got to take...
So every single solicitor, every single lawyer that anybody is hiring or is told that they have to hire for their case, that's the very first question they need to be asked. And if they can't answer it, that's them gone, isn't it?
Well, with my own personal case, I had a solicitor called Mr. Solanke.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's from a firm, a well-known firm called EBR Attridge in Tottenham. I think they do some work for some big footballers and all that.
Okay.
And he was on my case. That time I didn't know what I know now, but I could smell something, you know. So I said, I want to see who prosecuted. I want to see the papers, the prosecution papers. He wants me to come in to discuss the trial. And then I emailed him. I said, I want to come in and discuss the trial, but you haven't got me the prosecution papers. And everything he said to me, I repeat the same question. Mr. Solanke, you haven't got the prosecution papers. After time 4, you know what he said to me, Sean?
Go on.
Mr. Badaloo, I'm very sorry. I can't work on your case anymore. I'm professionally embarrassed. I got it in writing.
They all should be professionally embarrassed.
I'm telling you, I don't know where it's going to end. And I don't, you know, the way I'm working, Sean, as you probably figure out, I'm focusing all my energy and my concentration on the one thing. Yeah. There are many things, many factors, many things, you know, but I'm just focusing on the false court order. Because this is what is going to give us a better society. I'll tell you a quick joke. I saw on Facebook, there was an English guy living in Hong Kong. And all these Hong Kong people are going to come and live in the UK or trying to come or whatever. And he's putting a message out, yeah? He said, beware when you come to England, what you're coming to face. You're running from corruption of China and whatever. When you come to England, you're going to face illegal bailiff, councillors making up fake orders to steal your home, and the police arresting you with false warrants. And he's using all the videos from the Scambuster TV petition as his proof. So we're going global now, my friend.
As an example, I mean, people need, well, that's great. And people need to know that we have a mafia basically looking after us, and not looking after us, in fact, looking after themselves.
What I'm showing here, is the chink in the armory of the mafia. Because we can't fight the mafia, no matter how we prove wrong or right. We can't. But if we prove they made a false case against us, a counterfeit warrant, they took my baby with a court order. It is not a court order at all. It's just a piece of toilet paper. Now the game changes.
But the thing is, I mean, all of the court's orders, I'm presuming, if they're doing it in the same methodology, that they are all scams.
No.
Therefore, we need everyone to be aware of that.
99% or 95% is scam. Not when you're the. I have a case I won for a client.
Okay.
And we're talking about 350 grand. And you know what the court order says? It says it's sealed and it's embossed. It creases the paper. And it says on the top of the order, this order is not valid, nor are copies of it valid without the embossed seal. So that's when we're the claimant, we follow all the procedure, do it properly, we get an order like this. That's all orders must be like this.
I understand what you're saying. If we are to use ourselves, the court system, we're expected to do it correctly. We're expected to dot the I's and cross the T's. We're expected to do everything. But they're getting away with this for their system, and they're not crossing any fucking T's, and they're not doing anything, and they're breaking so many of their own, I suppose, in inverted commas, laws.
Well, the thing is, right, it's not that they're not dotting the T's and cross the I's or whatever, got it backwards, but it is that they do not have the material evidence to make a proper claim in the first place. When your bank takes you to court to repossess your property, they don't have a ledger to show the in and out of the accounting. Because in the first transaction, you were the creditor. So they can never file that in court. Like if you're a landlord, you're evicting your tenant, you have to file the rent schedule. So they can never make a proper claim in a court of law. They must go under the table. That's why the court fees cannot be paid, because they can't pay the court fee because it was going to the bank and the accounting, it will connect the dots. So the fees are never paid. That's why we make such a big thing on the court. I've won many, many cases just asking the claiming solicitor for the receipt for the court fee. On this one here, which we dealt with on this bailiff company, they said they got £75 fee there for themselves. Yeah.
Okay.
At the bottom of their letter, it says we have registered VAT. Yeah.
Right.
So I asked them, where is your VAT invoice for the £75?
For that
You
particular
understand?
thing, yeah. Yes,
So
yes.
the fee is a massive issue. It's a potential to topple everything, because if you don't pay the fee, the case is automatically void. Yeah. And they can't pay the fee even if they want to, because the case is under the table.
Right,
You know?
right.
So there's no receipt. So
a
there's
lot
no,
of this is not even on record. Yeah. No.
yeah, there's no receipt for it. Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew.
I say there'll be no receipt for it because they can't show it, because otherwise it would have to go through the books. And remember, it's not going through the books. It's going through the other books. It's the second books, the double book and accounting. It's not going through the legitimate books. It's going through the other books. So there's no receipts given out. It's cash in hand, backhanders. It's all backhanders.
So here's a dumbass question, if you like. Why can't we go to the guards, go to the police, and report these as crimes?
Because it's not us. Because it's not us.
We're talking today about the pyramid of terror.
Yeah.
The local authority, the police, and the court staff, all under the control of Capita. So you go to the police, what they say, we can't interfere in court matters. You say, fine. Investigate that it's a counterfeit court case. I was telling you earlier about this police with Ewan Peters, this man, where the HMRC was bankrupt. We went through a lot of effort to get the police, that put them in a position they cannot get out of it. Yeah. Eventually, the police called us in and took us to a building somewhere in Ilford. Yeah.
Okay.
You heard of a pop group called Rudimental?
I have, yes.
Is the father of one of them.
Okay.
Yeah? Ewan Peters. So they go and the police sat us down, about 3-4 of them around the table. They got the papers out, and she pointed to the papers and she kind of mumbled under her breath. She says, we can pursue this, but we can't pursue this. So they're going to take on the guy who stole the one property, but they will not take on the false court claim for the bankruptcy.
There you
go. Okay.
Yeah?
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, what it is, somebody stole a property of this guy.
Right.
Then the HMRC comes along a couple of years later and charging this guy taxes for this property that it doesn't have in his name.
It's already gone. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we investigated it and got to the bottom of it, whatever. And what we did, people should learn this. When you go to any of these complaints bodies, they're never going to rule in your favor. Yeah, we took on Caroline Wayman, the head of the Financial Ombudsman Service, on about a dozen cases. And at the end of it, we ask a very simple question. What jurisdiction do you have on criminal matters? And what is the procedure? And they have to then answer you by telling you, we do not have any jurisdiction on criminal matters. It's a matter for the police. No, Sean, you go to the police with one of these bloody letters from the ombudsman saying it's for the police. The police can't get out of it.
Right. Okay. So that's the way around it. Yeah. So
Caroline Wayman smelled the coffee and she resigned. Yeah. Because all the cases that the ombudsman is doing, they have no authority to adjudicate. They are only there to support the crime and make people feel like they're getting a service.
Yes.
So if you ask them 2 questions, or 1 question rolled in 2 at the end. Yeah, not at the beginning. You let them dig themselves in a hole. You don't. There's a lot to do with tactics. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But you say to them, what is your jurisdiction on criminal matters? And what is the procedure on criminal matters? So they have to tell you, and you will have it in writing. So this is what we did with this guy. The ombudsman told us, you know, it's for the police. So we go to the police with it. There's an interview on the internet with us on the police there. And the police couldn't get out. But what they did, the HMRC made a false claim for the bankruptcy. They never paid the fee. We had to fight a little bit, but eventually we got to see the court file.
Right.
When we see the court file, we found some old 3 other occasions they tried to bankrupt this man like 10 years apart, and he had no knowledge about it.
Wow. Right.
Aha. So we raised hell like that, and then the police launched their investigation. The HMRC could not give up their fight. You know what they did?
Go on.
They made him bankrupt for 0. This is the best one in the world. So you pay the 0 off, no?
Yeah.
End of the.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. So you know what? If no matter, I know there are many different personalities, different type of people, different energy, different vibes. Yeah. But all I'm saying to people, whatever your energy, whatever you like, drama, you like demonstration, you like, put a small part of your battle, your battle energy into investigating the actual claim against you.
Yes.
You understand? We have this document. We will link to this publication, bit.ly, bit.ly/caseman123.
Okay.
And you get a document to send off to the court to ask for the critical items, only a few things. And if they can't produce, there's not a case. And you can give it to the citizen's advice person helping you. So I want these items, and that's what I need your help for. I don't need your advice. I don't need nothing. If you can get me these things, fine. If you can't get me these things, don't waste my time.
Yeah.
Whether it's a solicitor, your mother-in-law, whoever, yeah, your MP, you take this document. I seen a letter from somebody, Sean, with this document from the Nottinghamshire court. You know what the court answer was?
Go on.
Where did you get this document?
Yeah, they get a bit hot under the collar when they're put under the test, don't they?
Because they have no answer to it. We're seeing all kinds of answers now, like with the case Andy's dealing with. They said there is no family court is not a civil. It's rubbish. I've seen people get their case management from the family court. It's the same civil court. It's just a different department because of the privacy with the children. It's the same computer system. Absolutely. Criminal court, they have their criminal case management system. So I got mine, you know, and it shows I'm going through trial at the Crown Court, prison, probation, everything, and my case management has bugger all on it.
So for people out there who have court cases, to verify that court case, so it's what is it, http /bit.ly/caseman123. I'll put that into the podcast page. Are you also still running your petition page to Boris Johnson?
The petition is running. We got we are progressing. We're under heavy shadow banning. I don't know if you know, they took proceedings against us to ban the petition back some time ago.
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah. I had two writs served on me on Christmas Day.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
From and one from Vincent Mason, who is the lawyers for the Queen.
Okay.
So we got, by New Year's, they dropped the case.
Right.
Because all I didn't answer and all that, like, you know, you're tempted to do. I asked them questions, you know, because I mentioned the word child abuse, yeah?
Yes.
That we made them very hot. But I was thinking of child abuse, that they throw my child on the street. But they're thinking of child abuse as child sexual abuse.
Right. Well, that's just there. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of types of abuse, and putting your child out in the streets is abuse, whether they like it or not.
Right. But since then, so anyway, that's how I caught them out. I said, what is it you're complaining about? This, you know, so they just realized, but I was getting too close to the, you know, to the nerve.
Yes.
But then after that, the bloody child protection officers, I will name them, Christopher Maitland and Stefan Kadek, were both jailed for child sexual abuse. So bloody hell, they could come and be my witnesses.
So they were actually sexually abusing. That's
yeah. And they were child protection. And how many others in their circle not being convicted, but are still at it? Because they can just take children and say, we have a court order.
Yeah, we just don't know, do we, how black this system is?
We know. It's very black. Yeah?
Yes.
Very black. We see what is it, Prince Edward and blah, blah. You know, it's you know, when you see women involved in it, yeah? You know, I'm telling you, people call me and inquire and all that, and it's, you know, I have never seen one of these cases, Sean, where you ask them for certain things, or maybe I've seen it, but it's rare, and they just give it to you. Always a big fight. And always when you get it, it shows very bad things. Because one thing we're investigating the procedure and the process. But on the other side of the coin is the darkness, the violent crime. You know, I just have to block my mind out of it sometimes. And then you think, these people doing it, they must need some kind of help. It can't be normal when someone is abusing children. That's humanity going to the lowest possible low. You know? And when it is a people that are held up in high esteem, you saw what happened in your loving country when they gave the Catholic priests a chance to jump before they were investigated. I think more than half of them resigned from the cloth.
Yes, they did. Yeah. So,
you know, we have to. I'm looking at these abusers, a lot of them, as victims, because we had a bailiff from Andrew Wilson and Co. He found a guy, I mentioned it the other day, called Julian Fernandez, and they got talking. And he said, I saw the petition about the bailiffs, yeah? And I don't want to do this job anymore. I'll be very honest with you. I came to your house 3 times. I don't want you to complain about me, please.
Right.
Fill in this form, complain about my company. Yeah.
So he acknowledged the corruption of his company, but didn't acknowledge that he was responsible by working for them.
No, he wanted to walk away from it.
He realized he realized what he was being told to do wasn't lawful, and then because he realized that his company was, and he said, "Don't complain about me, complain about the company." Yeah, that's basically what he was saying. See, this is the decompartmental stage, because these are just order followers. They think they're doing the job and they're just picking their wage up in the day. They've got kids to feed, they've got a house to keep over their head, and they're just doing what they're told. They've got no morals, because no order follower's got any morals. Yeah. It's the two. You can't serve two gods. You can't serve masters, and one of them's money. They're serving the money, so they're going for the money rather than the moral, the higher ground.
Well, that's the thing we've got to change, Andrew, isn't it? That's the mentality we need to change in human race to stop this shit from continuing.
And this is what we're trying to do by doing what Anthony's saying and by creating this flood to put the pressure onto them to now act correctly, and to perform correctly, to operate these courts correctly, so that we can actually get the justice. Because as it is right now, as you know, if I wanted to take you to court, Sean, not a problem. If I wanted to take a member of that system, that triad, that pyramid of terror that are all protecting each other, there's not a chance, because the courts won't take it. The police won't enforce it. The council will just ignore it. None of it happens. But if it's man to man, normal Joe Public to Joe Public, no problems. You can use it. You'll get a genuine court file. You'll be able to go in and actually lay.
Yeah, well, they have to do that, don't they? It's like the Bible and religion. They have to have a certain amount of truth in there, or else it's just unbelievable. So to keep the whole structure and the system going, they have to do it on correctly and by the book, at least a few times a week. You know.
Of course, and I mean, even don't forget when these cases that are going in there, basically. Anybody's going in there on a fraudulent case, it's not a case. So the outcome is what they want to do. So obviously they wouldn't just win every case because everyone would see it.
Yeah.
It's like Rupert Sheldrake exposed on the rats. If you give a rat poison, and it kills all the rats straight away, the other rats stopped eating it.
Yes.
Yeah. So they have to give the rat poison something that kills it at a later date, so they don't realise what killed it. And that's what they're doing with us, exactly the same as what they're doing with us, because the Morford residents, everyone would just trigger, everyone would just realise that these courts are completely fraud. But because some people win, because they allow some people to, what they class as win.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's like a one-arm bandit. It's like a one-arm bandit.
It's all a show, mate. The world's a stage.
The thing is, we're showing people a zero fail way to verify that you got a fraudulent case against you or not. Now, we can't say after you find out what you do, because somebody commit fraud against you, they must go to jail. So we have to create this demand from people for justice.
Yeah.
But first of all, if you look at the petition, and I've only got some of them there, and see the amount of people, big people that we've taken on and challenged, and they resign, whether it's coincidence or partly what we're asking them, because it's not about my case, it's all the others you bloody did.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's 7 years per item according to their own statutes. Yeah. You see how many people are resigning and jumping ship, and you only hope that they're being replaced by someone slightly better. We just saw Susan Ackland-Hood resign from the head of the Ministry of Justice and the head of the HMCTS.
Okay.
Caroline Wayman, the head of the Land Registry, Jim, what's his name, Tarrant. And then it just got the head of the CPS. You'll be amazed. Actually, I've asked somebody to put together for me like a picture wall of all the ones who resigned.
Right.
Yeah, because it's crazy, a lot.
Right.
They've been taken on like this before, and it's just me. So I'm trying to spread my work for people on the, share, and I owe it to the public to do a few more tutorials on different little things. Not about theory, but practical documents, letters, what to do, tactics.
And I think it'd be great if those tutorials get put on the radio. So if you want to record them, and I can put them on my show as like an hour or 20 minutes or however long the tutorial is, that'd be great to get that information out, because it's all about getting people to know what's going on and to know the truth.
I'll tell you a joke, Sean. This lady called Margaret Bass. We've done everything. We're fighting the case. They're trying to take her house, whatever. They've been a couple of times and gone. And after we established everything, the court won't give an order. Yeah. So she made her own order and just put the word draft on it.
So
And
she,
then-
hang on, she created her own order.
You're perfectly allowed to do your own order.
Okay.
You're not doing your own order. You're doing an order and for the court to rubber stamp.
Yes. Okay.
But you're perfectly within your rights to draft it.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is put the word draft somewhere on it.
Brilliant.
So she drafted an order, took it down to the court, and said she wanted 3 copies stamped, 1 for the court file and 2 back for her. So the lady at the court took it from her, gave it to a man. The man went downstairs to the bailiff office. You know what he did?
Go on.
He came back to her and he said, don't worry about the bailiff. Just go and make them an offer for a monthly payment.
Okay.
In other words, on the back of the draft order, they were not going to evict her.
Ah, so she wrote her own order,
Aye.
put it on record, and by it being put on record, she was able to not be.
Well, they made the decision themselves when they saw it.
Oh.
So even though it was not a valid order, but all these little tactics
Yeah.
is not in any law books.
No, and they're using plenty, aren't they?
They do it every day. Actually, when you go to court, yeah, before you have the trial, the barrister for the other side got his own order in his back pocket already. Yeah, that's normal practice. So why don't we do the bloody same?
Have it ready. Yeah, have one drafted.
Yeah, I do it all the time. Not only drafted, I went, you know, like now some courts say COVID, you can't, they won't stamp it.
Right.
Yeah. They can send illegal bailiffs on COVID, but they can't stamp it. So you put your own bloody stamp.
So you create your own stamp.
Yeah, but you're not copying their stamp. You're just putting a stamp
Of your own.
It says filed in the Nottinghamshire County Court and the date, bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's better than the ones the bailiff have.
and is that I suppose that's giving the control back to the defendant. It's giving the control back to the person possibly losing to the banks and the vultures.
You're stepping up one notch. You're saying you don't want to make me my order, but I'm gonna make it. If you don't want to approve it, but I'm 1 millimeter closer to you.
Yeah.
You understand that?
Do those orders that we put in, I mean, they have to be worded properly. I mean, surely a bit like
all you have to do, you use simple, plain English.
Right. Okay, that's good.
Steer away from all legalese. None of us know legalese. Legalese in strict, Andrew knows this very well.
Yeah.
In a strict sense, legalese is a foreign language.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just use plain English. I requested my case management such a date, and the court was unwilling and unable to produce it. The fee was not, the claimant cannot produce the receipt for the fee, which according to CPR 3.7 or 2.72, whatever it is, the case is null and void. Based on the above, I would like an order that this matter be struck out, be as a nullity with cost and aggravated damages to myself to be decided at a further cost hearing. And what's the difficulty there?
Yeah, no, that sums it up pretty much.
Not even one complicated word.
No, true. So that's something that we can all do if we're in that position.
We can do a tutorial, you know, from because you know that document, that case man 123 thing.
Yes.
Once you send that off and you send a reminder and you put in there implied admission by the absence of a response, whatever.
Yeah.
You give a reasonable period and they don't comply. You wrote to the solicitor, ask for a copy of the receipt for the fee, and nobody produced. Then the only plausible explanation, either it does not exist, which means you're a winner, or they're concealing it, which means you're a winner and they go to jail. Because concealment, Section 3 of the Fraud Act, 10 years jail. You have a court file there, taking my child or my property or my car, whatever, and you haven't shown it to me. That's concealment.
Yes.
This is how we have to go, so simple and so bold.
Yeah, it is.
And
bold,
I'll tell you what, judges are getting up and running out the court, running, not walking.
I bet they are. It's a rocket up their arse, isn't it, if you start doing that? And we just want more and more people to do it. So the knowledge you're giving, the information you're giving, the templates you're also giving to people to use are absolutely brilliant. And I urge people to get on board and to use it. But also, Anthony, we've got about 10 minutes left. Anthony, we've got about 10 minutes left. If there is something or specific that we haven't touched on that you really wanted to whack it into this show, we've got 10 minutes to do so.
I'd like to just give something else that's come about new yet, and we're just actually in the process of doing it right now, but it makes perfect sense to explain exactly what's going on and how they're deceiving us and how they're having their ability to refuse to ignore us, because this is the main thing, that we're all getting ignored. All the applications and requests and requirements that are being sent to these people, they're ignoring you, pure and simple, because of the trick, which again is about the person and the man. The person, the legal person, is not a man, it's a dead entity, and it's classed as a corporation. Yeah, and it's the person, which is an actor's mask. But the man is a man, and a man has a voice. An actor's mask, an actor is a dead entity, doesn't have a voice. So therefore, what they've done to us, they're doing, and they're using exactly the same thing. So we have been going as a man, or I have certainly, on most of these things. But when we go to the people, let's just say Boris Johnson. Now, Boris Johnson is not a man. Boris Johnson is the actor. Alexander Boris de Freffel Johnson is the man. The man is the man who swore the oath. The actor never swore on the oath. So the actor can ignore you. The actor is on a different stage and is on a different level. Therefore, he can ignore you, because he can't hear you. So therefore, they're getting it. So now, what we're doing right now, and this is a suggestion, when you've found out that your case files don't exist, then you can send to Boris Johnson, but not Boris Johnson. You'll be sending it to the man, as a man, to Alexander Boris de Freffel Johnson, to now give him the command, because he is in a position to serve, because he's a servant. So you have to go as the man to him in his private capacity, under the penalty of perjury, to perform, because you're giving him the command. Because this is where the mindset of the people is, where we're losing out, because we're not standing up and enforcing our power, because we've lost that power, because we're scared, or we're not sure how to do it, whatever it be. Yeah. So what it is, man created government, therefore man creates, and what you create, you control. So man is the one that is meant to be controlling the government. Yes. So government created the fiction, created the legal entity. That's what they control. So we just spin it, and now we have to go directly to the man and hold him in his private and individual capacity, under the penalty of perjury, to provide or to command him what it is you require. There is no case file. You need this, you need this, you need this. So first of all, you get the evidence. Once you found out that it isn't, then you send a letter, registered delivery, to Alexander Boris de Freffel Johnson. You can go up onto Wikipedia, and you'll see, it will say his born name. His born name is Alexander Boris de Freffel Johnson. That is the man. Yeah. The actor, Boris Johnson, will not hear you, and they can ignore you. And this goes the same all the way through it. This is where this is their veil. They're hiding behind the veil. Yeah. We have to go through that veil straight to the man and hold him in his private individual capacity to perform. If he then fails to perform, you then have the document, because he's got to give you a response, or implied admission by failure to response, because you're going to the man. Now that, as he said, is concealment, or if he perjures, if he sends back a lie, either way, you have now the physical material evidence to substantiate your claim that that man has either perjured or concealed. Now you can then go to the police and do exactly the same, because remember, it's the man, the policeman, yeah, the man himself is the one that swore on the oath. Yeah, so you have to go and him, make sure that he's on his oath, yeah, and under the penalty of perjury to perform his duty, because remember, these are servants, and we, as our mindset, are thinking they should tell us what to do. Stop it. We are the commanders. We tell them what to do. Yeah.
We have to realise en masse our strength. And
once people start doing it, and we'll see a result very shortly, because today that letter's gone into Boris Johnson, or so should I say to Alexander Boris de Frettel Johnson, the man, from a woman. And I know that there's other people, and I also know that there's other people that said they've done it, and when you see it, you'll see a change. And like I told you about Mark, because he told you that he has had the results. You will see it.
To elaborate on that for people, because that was a private conversation we had earlier. So that's Mark Kishon Christopher.
Yeah, Mark Kishon Christopher had stated, now, take him for what he is. Take him for whatever you want. It's immaterial to me, whether you like the man or dislike the man or hate the man for this or that or whatever. Remember, I only listen to the facts. And when a man speaks the facts, it will light a light bulb in my head, just like when Anthony exposed about the procedures of the court and the caseman file. Once he explained that, the light bulb lit up. I understood exactly what he was saying. Therefore, here's a way of catching him out, because you've now got the physical facts. I mean, the thing is with this is, how do you prove a negative? In other words, how do you prove something that doesn't exist exists? Well, it's not our problem. We don't have to prove it, because we never made the claim that it was a genuine case. They did. And under the maximum law proves that now they made the claim, the burden of proof falls on them. So they have to substantiate that fact. So if they can't produce it, that means what? Like you said, it's either concealment or it did not exist. So they're concealing the fact that it didn't exist. So either way, it's a fraud. We know it's now a fraud. We know it's not a court case, but how are we going to get this dealt with? Well, the only way we can get this dealt with, well, why not go to who's the Prime Minister? I'm talking of England. I mean, Ireland's got a Prime Minister. You will be able to look on Wikipedia and you will see, what's your island's Prime Minister?
Micheál Martin, his name is.
Right, well, you look on Wikipedia, you'll find out his birth name. Find out his birth name, yeah, that's the man, because it's the man that swore on the oath. Now you hold him in his private and individual capacity under the penalty of perjury to do what you're now telling him to do.
It's even bigger here in Ireland, because he's not just the Prime Minister, he is a Taoiseach.
I don't care what he is. I don't care what he is. He's a servant. He's a servant.
I know he is. Yeah, you didn't let me finish what I was saying.
Sorry, yeah, go on.
You know what I mean? And you didn't know what I was going to say, so okay. Yeah. He's the Taoiseach, and in Irish history, the Taoiseach holds a lot higher office than any Prime Minister, and higher than, you know what I mean? It's like the king of all kings type of stuff.
There you go.
So he's actually failing so much for the Irish people, and on top of that, he's a fraudulent troll and worker for the EU and the UK. If you know.
Well, they're all, to be truthful. Not an Irish. To be truthful, Sean, they're all working for the Vatican anyway, right? But the point here is this. The point here is this. It's not that them are failing, it's we are failing, because we are failing to give the command. They are sitting there waiting for us to give the command. And until you tell me you've given that command and they failed, what I've just said stands true. Okay? So until we give these men and women that are in the position and acting as a public servant, acting as a Prime Minister, and their private individual capacity as the man that swore on the oath, we are not going to be able to say that they're not waiting. So until somebody sends it to them and they actually fail to perform, because I mean, if you listen, remember I told you about the square peg in the round hole. Yeah. This could be, because again, just like Anthony's, lit the light bulb up in my head when I heard what he said straight away. Just like the same with the Baron David Ward, when he proved to the fact of the world that there is no government because all governments are corporations. And this, what the Baron had found, what the Baron had said, this is fact. You know, you can't dispute this. It's undisputable because it's an affidavit that was in 2013 where it got the royal assent, and by the 657 MPs that failed to rebut it, it gave the foundation. So it's fact in law, yeah, because it's through the.
But you'll have to come on a future show and expect to be explain to people about David Barron. Baron David Ward, etc. It's really important that people know this stuff, and not a lot of people do. I know that you know it inside out, Andrew, so maybe at some point, and I know that the gentleman has passed away, his affidavit is in there. It really is important information that we all should know. So I'd love for you to come back on a future show and maybe just concentrate on him.
Yeah.
Anthony, did you want to say anything before we head off?
Yeah. I just finish off with this, what you were saying about Baron Ward, yeah? But I want to put a little different spin on it. I think he should be recognized for the phenomenal work and achievement he's done. But very important for us and the victims, that for using his process, you can get a commercial lien for millions against these offenders without going to their court, just by the process. 4 or 5 letters, that's it. Yeah. And then we now have the facility through Eileen and another company that you can actually exchange this for cryptocurrency, which you can then exchange for normal money. It's a wonderful opportunity, and I believe more things will come along. So yeah, I always like to show people a bright, some light at the end of the tunnel. And I think, you know, with Baron Ward, we could focus on how to use this process, basically to get some compensation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we don't even need to go there, and hopefully what you're doing and what you're all doing out there, the great work you're doing, is going to bring the system down, and they won't even have money to pay us with their liens, because they won't have a position of power to be in that position to need to pay it. We should be bringing the whole fucking system down. That's what we should be doing. I want to say, Andrew,
we're going to bring the system up, Sean.
That's more than one.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Make it operate how it's meant to be. When the people stand up and give the command, it will perform. And that's what the people need to do, is make them perform. Stop acting. We need to see a performance. We need to see what we're coming back.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, guys, before you go, and I've been doing it for all my guests recently.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to do a little poem for you before you go, okay? So I might even do 2, depending on whether you want me to or not. But Andrew or Anthony, now I know that's chucking it into the ball, whoever answers first, pick a number between 10 and 90.
You go, Andy.
33.
33. That's a bit of a Freemason number, if ever there was one.
That's what I just thought about. So I thought, why not?
Okay. Right. Well, this is a poem that I will leave you guys with, all right? And it's called The Thin Line. And it goes like this. Walking the thin line between ignorance and reality is where most of us are. Sitting on the fence where reality is just an illusion and as close to us as the nearest star. Appreciation of luxury only becomes available after being put through hell. Knowledge gained through experience should be passed on via ourselves to our children, so they don't have to go through the same hell as well. Why sit back and watch others suffer when verbal communication can be the answer to it all? Why enjoy the usual sight of someone else's downfall? Words are far too few when mouths are scared to talk. Why let others graze their hands and knees whilst crawling when it's easier to walk? Help is not a helpless word unless we do less to help a friend. Voicing ideas, views, and experiences is the way to realizing the messages they send. We learn from each other. We learn from ourselves. We learn from the world all around us. But the ultimate truth must be learned by us all, or our destiny will continue to confound us. There you go.
Perfect, mate.
Smashing.
Perfect for it.
I don't know if you...
Yeah, go on, Anthony. You give me a number.
So Andrew Devine, Anthony. Oh, you want another one? Okay, go for it.
Yeah, have another one.
You want a number 77, double lock.
Between 10, 77. Let's have a look what 77 is. Just to let people know, it is from my little book, Out of the Bag, a selection of poems. It's how I feed my family. So you can buy it on my website. I'll go to page 77. And it's interesting. It starts on page 76, Anthony, and it goes on to page 77. And it goes like this. When I was a small child, I don't know about you. I listened to my elders and believed them to be true. Told to speak when spoken to only, and not say what I could see, only made me doubt them, question them, because I saw so much hypocrisy. I saw men of the cloth and women just the same, doing the most unspeakable things, yet speaking in God's name. If the things they did were holy and their acts were justified, I wanted to have a word with God, and believe me, I have tried. To tell him that he's got it wrong if he agrees with what they've done. The hell his church puts children through makes it look like evil has won. There you go.
Brilliant.
Smashing.
I'm just.
That was a bit of a heavy one to finish.
I'm just showing the book now, actually, Sean.
Yeah.
So I've got the book in front of me, so I'm just going to.
Oh, thank you very
I
much.
better get myself a copy.
And then,
I like
you
the
sitting
audio.
in
I
Greek.
like the audiobook. The audiobook.
Yeah.
I'll have to get the audiobook sorted at some point.
You can do
So
it
listen-
software. There's apps. You can do it automatic.
Okay, well, listen, Andrew Devine, Anthony Badaloo, thank you so much for coming on Out of the Bag. I'm sure you're going to be on fairly soon, hopefully with news that this whole system is collapsing around our arses and you are building it up to make it true and honest. That's
It
what
is.
I want.
It is the Corona period. It is the Corona period.
Smash
It
it.
is.
This is the crowning moment for us all, like, yeah. So God bless all the audience as well, like, yeah.
Cheers,
Thank
man.
you so much. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Anthony.
All right.
And
Bye.
talk
Thank-
soon.
Will do, John. Bye bye now. Yeah. All right, and
Bye.
so yeah, I'll just put this book on here, like, just so.
Yeah.
Yes. Where's my picture? Not coming
Okay.
up?
What I'm gonna do? I don't know.
Let me just stop the recording now because I'm still recording.
Oh, you were still recording.
Yeah, I was recording. So yeah, so
thought you'd
the
stopped.
time now is 1:05. It's on the 19th of August. That was just his. That was
You're looking fresh. 1
that was-
o'clock in the morning.
1:05 here. Yeah. So here's the book out of the bag. That was the
Yeah.
book he was reading for Sean, because that's how he funds himself. Like, I mean,
It's a whole book. I thought it was a CD case.
No, he's a brilliant. It's got to tell you what, he's a brilliant. Every time we read it, I mean, that poem here was 33. I just don't know where it came from, but every time I give a number for him, it's always plausible to what it is we're talking about every time.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'll end the recording now.
All right.